Is Kaitlyn Goergen, and I will be presenting on Lev Vygotsky. Lev Vygotsky was born in Belarus in 1896. As a Jew, his college options were restricted, so he decided to study law at the University of Moscow in 1913 and graduated in 1917. Afterward, he began teaching logic and psychology at a local college until he was invited to join the Moscow Institute of Experimental Psychology. He is best known for his social interaction theory, also known as sociocultural theory, which made significant advancements in child development. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory simply states that a child's learning happens through relationship and social interaction. Children do not learn from themselves, but from others. The quote I have here says, "Through others we become ourselves." That's by Vygotsky, and it lines up with his theory. There are three main themes in the sociocultural theory. All three I will be talking about. First is how social interaction plays into cognitive development. The second theme is Vygotsky's zone of proximal development and the more knowledgeable other. And the third theme is Vygotsky's scaffolding theory. Social interaction is the baseline for Vygotsky's theory. He believed that from socialization, children develop language. Language is very important for cognitive development because, for one, it's the main form of communication, and two, it is a very powerful tool of intellect. Vygotsky saw language in three ways. That's on the bottom there. First is social speech. This is just everyday usage of language that allows us to communicate. The second is private speech, and this type of speech usually develops around age 3 and is just like it sounds, private. It's a simple, out loud speech that you use to regulate thoughts and processes. Finally, the third one is our inner speech. This develops around age 7 and tends to merge with our private speech. It is a speech with ourselves that allows us to self-regulate and have thought processes. However, it is not an out loud speech. The zone of proximal development is the defining area of what children know and do not know. For children to learn more, they need a more knowledgeable other with the knowledge and resources to help them learn. This person tends to be an adult, and for many children, their more knowledgeable other is a parent or a teacher. Scaffolding is a tool used by more knowledgeable others to encourage growth and learning. Scaffolding allows the zone of proximal development to grow, and this can be done through social interactions, step-by-step processes, and more. In similar words, scaffolding allows children to grow and better understand their own learning. The more knowledgeable other, whoever that may be, is there for learning support when they are needed. I kind of just wanted to go over how we as future teachers or already teachers can implement this theory in the classroom. One of the big ways we can implement it is through teacher-student relationships. Teachers are considered more knowledgeable others, and it's easier for students to learn from someone who they trust than from someone who they do not. Building classroom relationships will build that trust, which will result in a better learning experience for our students. Another way to implement this theory in the classroom is by allowing parents to be involved. While this can be difficult in some schools, parents who are involved have a better relationship with their children, and it also allows other students to have social interaction with adults outside of their parents and their teachers. The biggest roles in a child's learning will always be a teacher or a parent, so it's very important to focus on those roles. Another way to implement this in the classroom, teaching-wise, is by studying other cultures. While this isn't necessarily social interaction, it is a learning process through society. Allowing children to study other cultures and areas of the world gives them a broader perspective and wider range for learning. Cultures outside of our own helps us to see past what we know and discover what we do not. When studying for this presentation, I found that many people would compare the ideas of Vygotsky to Piaget's stages of development. The biggest difference is that Piaget believed that thought preceded language. First, Vygotsky believed that thought and speech were separate until they merged around age 3. He also believed that cognitive development occurred through social interaction. As children internalize their thoughts and interactions, they begin to grow their thinking. On the other hand, Piaget believed the two go hand in hand. First, children develop a thought process, and from those thoughts, they learn language. Another thing they disagreed about was how learning occurs. As discussed before, Vygotsky believed in the zone of proximal development, what children know compared to what they don't know. To learn more, they need a more knowledgeable other to give them the support and resources needed. However, Piaget believed that cognitive learning occurs before learning, and children will naturally initiate learning. This theory became a basis for Jerome Bruner's discovery learning theory, which simply states that learners should use past experiences, intuition, creativity, imagination, and more to discover truths. Unfortunately, Lev Vygotsky did die in 1934 of tuberculosis, just as he was finishing his book, Thought and Language. And like I said before, Vygotsky was a Jew during the Soviet era, which means that many restrictions were put on him. To give an example of these restrictions, he wanted to teach but wasn't allowed the schooling to do so. That's why he chose law. This also meant that the Russian government made many of his writings and theories inaccessible to the Western world, and many of his writings weren't discovered until the 1970s. So much of his work is still being discovered and explored to this day. Vygotsky's theories are still relevant, though it has been almost 100 years since the development of sociocultural theory. Vygotsky's writings are still relevant and utilized in the education system. Thank you.